This year's NBA Finals has something for everyone. We have stars facing off, players going against old teams, and most importantly, a matchup that should make for a very good series. The Boston Celtics out of the Eastern Conference have been playing at a historical level all year long, while the Dallas Mavericks, after some key midseason moves, found a formula to help them emerge as the winners out west. I'm going to take a deeper look at some areas each team can attack this series, point out some X factors, and eventually pick my NBA champion. These two teams did play after the trade deadline in a game the Celtics won by 28 points. One interesting aspect of that contest is the Celtics were incredibly efficient scoring on their possessions out of pick and roll, including passes. The Mavericks haven't been great defending pick and roll this postseason, though their opponents haven't targeted them frequently in the action. The Celtics, led by Jayson Tatum, have been incredibly efficient running pick and roll, including passes, but this postseason they haven't utilized the action much either. It will be interesting to see if that's something the Celtics lean on more to start the series. While I mentioned the Celtics don't run much pick and roll, the Mavericks with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving run a ton of it. That isn't great news for a Celtics defense who has really struggled against the action this postseason, along with having difficulty stopping cutters and rollmen, though Kristaps Porzingis' calf injury likely played a role in that regard. Porzingis has never played past the first round of the playoffs, but now after a month-long absence is dropped right into the finals. No pressure there. While Porzingis should help with some areas the Celtics struggled defensively, he'll also be a big boost for the offense. Porzingis' outside shooting ability is well documented, and he gives the Celtics the ability to play 5 out, which is something the Mavericks haven't seen a ton of in previous playoff matchups. To add to the shooting, Porzingis was also extremely effective on post-ups this year, which is an aspect where the Mavericks have struggled defending in a small sample this postseason. Some of it is scheme related, but 50% of the threes the Mavericks have allowed off the catch this postseason have been considered open. When a team takes and makes as many three-pointers as the Celtics, this could swing multiple games in a series. The Celtics as a team, even when contested, have shot well off the catch, but have hit 44% of their threes considered unguarded this postseason. With the amount of guys who can get hot from deep on the Celtics roster, the Mavericks could be playing with fire if they aren't careful here. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the Mavericks do a great job of creating open threes, while the Celtics have done a nice job limiting them this postseason, though opponents have had success when the opportunities are there. This will be huge for both Derrick Jones and PJ Washington. Jones isn't known as a shooter, and opponents will live with him taking threes, though he's shooting 40% from deep these playoffs, doing most of his damage from the corners. Jones and Washington are my X factors for the Mavericks in this series. The three-point shooting from Jones would be a major boost, though he really makes his presence known on the defensive end. Jones has the size, length, and athleticism to defend various positions, and we'll certainly see a lot of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown in this series. While Washington was lights out from 3 against the Thunder, he shot just 25% from deep against the Timberwolves, and made just 6 of his 22 attempts off the catch considered open in that series. Given Washington's blend of size, movement, and strength, he'll likely start the series as Tatum's primary defender. Tatum had a lot of success when Washington was his primary defender this season, so the Mavericks are certainly hoping that isn't a recurring theme. Another thing I'm interested to see early in this series is how much the Celtics make Luka Dončić work defensively. Against the Timberwolves, Dončić was able to conserve a lot of energy on that end of the floor, roaming the baselines. And even when Minnesota did have Dončić one-on-one, they didn't go all out to challenge him. It will be interesting to see if the Celtics have Dončić defend players moving off the ball, or if Tatum or Jaylen Brown make a point to attack when Dončić is switched onto them. It's been a very limited sample, but Dončić has struggled when defending pick-and-roll ball handlers these playoffs, while holding his own defending in isolation. Even if it's just to force Dončić to use some energy, it could be worth a shot targeting him early on to see how he responds. Close games could be very common in this series, and there are some interesting stats in that regard. The Mavericks are outscoring teams by nearly 6.5 points per 100 possessions in fourth quarters this postseason. Meanwhile, the Celtics have been outscored by nearly 3 points per 100 possessions in the fourth these playoffs. Though the Celtics, thanks in part to their multiple comebacks against the Pacers, have been fantastic in what the league describes as crunch time minutes in the fourth. Against two proven closers in Dončić and Irving, it will be fascinating to see how the Celtics respond, as their late-game offense was a concern for many throughout the season. Overall, this series has all the makings to be a very memorable one. Both teams can score in a variety of ways, and given the strengths and weaknesses of the rosters, should prove to be quite the chess match. On top of that, Both teams have had major moments this postseason where they showed they can deliver in the clutch and the ability to take over games late in the fourth quarter. My prediction for the series is the Celtics winning in 7 games, as at the end of the day, they have more weapons at their disposal who can overcome off shooting nights if either Tatum or Brown were to struggle. Basketball fans all around the world should be very excited, as we've got something for everyone in this series, which should lead to a very compelling couple of weeks.